Right now in D.C., residents are navigating a new reality on city streets with federal agents joining local police under this federal takeover.
And many people are asking, what are my rights? Do these officers have to identify themselves? Tonight, we're speaking with Monica Hopkins, executive director of the ACLU of D.C., about what this means for everyday life, how residents can protect their civil liberties, and what to do if they feel their rights are being violated. Monica, we thank you for joining us. Let's jump right in, because one of the questions we keep hearing is, are those federal agents required to identify themselves when they interact with residents? And then what should people do if they're unsure who they are dealing with?
So I want to start with, this is the first time in our history as the District of Columbia, that we have seen both the militarization of our police force and now the coordination with National Guard, ICE, DEA in our city. So this question about, do officers, law enforcement need to identify themselves? And they should identify themselves. There should be identifying sort of badges, names, things of that nature. And if individuals come into contact with law enforcement agencies, they do have rights. The rights remain the same. And they should remember those rights.
Yeah, and Monica, on the same note, what rights do D.C. residents have if they're stopped, questioned, or approached by federal officers who are not local police?
Well, I mean, the distinction here is that these federal agents are not trained in local D.C. laws, how to police under those laws. The rights for DC residents, remain the same as sort of the Know Your Rights training we do with law enforcement. And those are, you have the right to remain silent. You need to verbally invoke this right. Ask, am I free to leave? And if the answer is yes, you are free to leave. And if the answer is no, ask, am I under arrest? And if that is the case, remember as much detail as you can about the officer, the badges, possible witnesses around you for a later time. If police stop you or law enforcement stops you, they might frisk you for weapons. You do not have to consent to any other further search if there is no warrant. If you are stopped by DC police, you have a right to an attorney. If stopped by ICE, you have the right to consult with an attorney and can request a list of free or low-cost legal help. And we want to, really impress on the fact that it is really important to know your rights so you can make decisions for yourself. But as we have known here in the district, it can be really dangerous to argue on the ground, and you shouldn't argue on the ground in the middle of a situation. Take in as much information as you can, keep yourself safe, and file a complaint later.
Let's talk about this next question, because there's some people who are wondering, so these federal agents are out there and they're conducting these searches. Can they detain a resident without probable cause, and what limits exist under the law at this point?
So this is where the question, am I free to leave, comes very important. You need to ask the officer, am I free to leave? And are you under arrest? On the ground, you don't want to argue about reasonable, articulable suspicion and whether they have it or not under the law. Those two questions, they do have the right to detain you if they are arresting you. So ask, am I free to leave? And if you are free to leave, if they say yes, walk away slowly.
Yeah, Monica, if someone feels their rights are being violated by a federal officer, what can they do to hold that officer accountable?
So I think this is where we have incredible concern. When ordinary state and local police violate constitutional law or constitutional rights, they are subject to lawsuits to compensate the victims of their abuses. There's no law providing that same level of accountability when federal officials violate the Constitution. What remedies there are have huge gaps in them and they have limitations. We saw that here in the district in the summer of 2020 during protests in Lafayette Square after the murder of George Floyd. And we, the ACLU of D.C., are still fighting in court to hold those federal officers accountable. So it is a sort of uncharted waters that we are in right now, where you have local police officers engaging with federal officers who are, to an extent, acting as local police.
Monica, I know you said we are in uncharted waters, but how might the presence of these federal agents on the street affect our everyday lives, like commuting or protesting or attending public events?
Yeah, I think that the important thing here is what we are hearing from DC residents is that this is our city. It is a safe city. There is an increased presence, which is important about knowing your rights. People should feel free to go about their daily lives, and we acknowledge and understand that there is an increased sort of fear. We don't know the number of federal law enforcement agencies or agents that might be on the ground. So it is important to keep alert and know your rights.
All right. Monica Hopkins from the ACLU of D.C., thank you so much for joining us tonight and
Thank
answering
you.
these questions for our neighbors.
Really important.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.